Feeling lost in your 20s can feel like standing at the edge of a vast ocean with no map, no compass, and no certainty of where the tides will take you. You wake up each day with questions swirling in your mind. You wonder if you are behind. You wonder if everyone else has it figured out except you. You look at the filtered snapshots of other people's lives and think, why do they look so sure of themselves? Why am I the only one who feels like I am drifting without direction? But I want you to understand something right now. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not a failure because you don't have all the answers. You are in the middle of one of the most formative chapters of your life, and the confusion you feel is evidence that you are growing. Growth rarely feels comfortable. It almost never feels certain. It comes with doubt, second guessing, and the ache of comparing yourself to others. But it also comes with possibility, with the raw material to build something extraordinary, with the opportunity to question everything you were taught to accept without thinking. Feeling lost is not proof that you are going nowhere. It is proof that you are searching for your authentic path. It is proof that you are paying attention. It is proof that you care enough about your life not to settle for an existence that doesn't feel true to who you are becoming. In your 20s, everything feels like it carries enormous weight. Every decision seems to define you forever. The fear of making the wrong choice can freeze you in place. Should you take this job? Should you move to a new city? Should you end the relationship that feels comfortable but not quite right? Should you go back to school? Should you pursue that risky dream or play it safe? These questions don't always have obvious answers. Sometimes you don't know what you want until you try something and realize it doesn't fit. Sometimes you only discover clarity by walking through uncertainty. There is no shame in experimenting, in pivoting, in starting over. This is the decade when you get to explore. This is the season when you are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to fail. You are allowed to discover that the plan you thought you wanted no longer excites you. That is not failure. That is information. That is how you get closer to what feels right. When you feel lost, it is easy to believe the story that you are somehow inadequate, that everyone else was handed a guidebook and you were left to figure it out alone. But the truth is, almost everyone feels this way at some point. Most people are improvising, even if they don't admit it. The person you admire who seems to have it all together also lies awake at night questioning themselves. The difference is not that they never feel lost. The difference is that they keep moving anyway. They keep trying. They keep learning. They keep showing up. And that is what you must do too. You must keep showing up for your life, even when you don't feel certain. Even when you don't feel ready. Even when your confidence is fragile and your vision is blurry. Because if you keep moving, you will gain experience. You will gather clues about what lights you up and what leaves you empty. You will learn what matters to you and what you can let go of. There is no single timeline that everyone is supposed to follow. Your 20s are not a race to tick off milestones in the right order. They are a journey of discovery and self-definition. Some people meet their life partner at 21. Some people meet them at 40. Some people find their calling early. Others meander through several careers before something finally clicks. None of these paths are better than the others. They are simply different. You are not behind because your path doesn't look like someone else's. You are not failing because you haven't reached some arbitrary checkpoint by a certain age. You are living your story, and your story will unfold in its own time. Sometimes you will look around and feel like everyone is passing you by. You will see people getting promotions, buying houses, getting married, starting families, and you will wonder why you still feel stuck. You will wonder why you can't seem to figure it out. But those outer accomplishments don't tell the whole story. They don't show the private doubts, the silent struggles, the hidden compromises. You can't compare your internal experience to someone else's highlight reel. You don't know what trade-offs they made, what insecurities they carry, what dreams they postpone to keep up appearances. So when you feel the urge to measure your worth against someone else's timeline, pause. Remind yourself that you are not here to replicate their life. You are here to create your own. Your 20s will test you. You will face setbacks, you will have your heart broken, you will watch plans fall apart, you will lose things you thought you couldn't live without, but you will also rebuild. You will surprise yourself with your resilience. You will discover strength you didn't know you had. You will make connections that change you. You will stumble into moments of joy that remind you why you keep going. Every experience, even the ones that feel like detours, will shape you. Even the wrong turns are part of the map. You are collecting the raw material of wisdom. You are gathering the stories you will someday tell about how you found your way. You don't need to know exactly who you are or where you are headed to be worthy of love, respect, and belonging. You don't have to prove yourself to deserve a place in this world. Your worth is not dependent on your accomplishments. It is not conditional on having everything figured out. You are enough as you are in this moment, with all your uncertainty and longing and confusion. You are enough, even if you can't see it yet. When you feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the future, bring your focus back to the present. You don't have to solve your whole life right now. You only need to decide what you will do today. Maybe today you will take one small step towards something that excites you. Maybe today you will send that email, apply for that opportunity, sign up for that class. Maybe today you will rest and give yourself grace. It is okay if you don't have the big picture. The small actions you take now will create momentum. Over time, those small steps will carry you somewhere new. If you are questioning your purpose, remember that purpose is not always a singular, grand mission that arrives fully formed. Sometimes purpose is something you build piece by piece. It evolves as you do. It reveals itself through curiosity, through experimentation, through paying attention to what energizes you. If you are not sure what you love yet, that is okay. You have time to discover it. You have time to explore. You have time to change your mind. Life is not a linear progression from uncertainty to clarity. It is a dance between the two. The feeling of being lost is often the doorway to transformation. Your 20s are a decade of firsts. Your first apartment, your first real job, your first serious relationship, or your first heartbreak, your first taste of independence, your first real mistakes. These firsts can be thrilling and terrifying all at once. It is normal to feel unprepared. It is normal to feel like you are making it up as you go. That is exactly what everyone else is doing. The difference is that some people are willing to admit it. Give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. Give yourself permission to fail and try again. Give yourself permission to not have a 5-year plan. You are not a machine designed to maximize productivity. You are a human being finding your way in an unpredictable world. It is okay if you don't know exactly where you are headed. What matters is that you keep going. What matters is that you stay curious. What matters is that you refuse to abandon yourself. When you feel lost, come back to your values. What do you care about? What do you want your days to feel like? Who do you want to be, regardless of what you accomplish? These questions can guide you when everything else feels uncertain. You don't need all the answers to take the next step. You only need to be willing to try. There will be moments when you feel like giving up. Moments when the pressure is too much. Moments when you want to numb out or disappear. In those moments, remember that you have survived everything you thought you couldn't. You have endured disappointment, failure, heartbreak. You have rebuilt before, and you can rebuild again. You are more capable than you realize. You have more options than you can see right now. The way forward might not be obvious yet, but it will reveal itself in time. If you can, surround yourself with people who remind you of your strength, people who see your potential even when you doubt it, people who love you without conditions. You don't have to navigate this decade alone. Connection will sustain you, honest conversations will ground you, community will help you remember who you are when you forget. It is okay to take breaks, it is okay to rest. You don't have to hustle nonstop to prove your worth. Your life is not a project to be optimized, it is an experience to be lived. Give yourself permission to be human, to feel what you feel, to be imperfect and still worthy, to be lost and still moving forward. One day you will look back on this chapter with compassion. You will see how much you grew when you thought you were failing. You will see how every experience, even the painful ones, taught you something essential. You will see that being lost was never a sign of weakness. It was a sign of courage. It meant you were willing to question, to search, to care enough about your life to want more. That is something to be proud of. So if you feel lost in your 20s, take a deep breath. You are exactly where you need to be. You are in the process of becoming, and that process is beautiful, even when it doesn't look the way you expected. Keep going, keep trusting that you are finding your way, step by uncertain step. Your future is not behind you. It is still waiting to be written, and you have everything within you to create something extraordinary. You might wake up tomorrow and feel the same weight pressing on your chest, the same questions circling your thoughts. This is part of the process. Healing and clarity don't arrive overnight. They come in fragments, in glimpses, in the quiet moments when you least expect them. One morning, you will notice that you are no longer comparing yourself to everyone else quite as much. One evening, you will feel a small spark of excitement about something, and you'll realize you haven't felt that in a while. These tiny shifts matter. They are signs that you are moving forward, even if the progress feels invisible. Be patient with yourself. Growth isn't always dramatic. Often, it looks like getting up every day and doing your best, even when your best doesn't feel like enough. It looks like showing up for your responsibilities while also tending to your dreams. It looks like learning how to soothe your own doubt, how to be your own friend when your inner critic is loud. You don't need to conquer every fear at once. You don't need to transform into some perfect, unshakable version of yourself. You only need to keep taking the next small step. Some days, the loneliness will feel heavier than anything else. You will look around and see other people forming tight circles of belonging, while you feel like you are on the outside looking in. You will scroll through photos of groups laughing together, traveling together, celebrating together, and you will wonder if you are fundamentally different, if something about you makes connection harder. But loneliness is not proof that you are unlovable. It is a universal human experience. Even the most connected people feel lonely sometimes. Even the people surrounded by friends wonder if they are truly understood. It is brave to keep reaching out, to keep opening your heart, even after disappointment. Every time you show up with authenticity, you are creating the possibility of real connection, and you deserve that. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect and care, not performance or pretense. You deserve to be seen and valued exactly as you are. Your 20s are often described as the best years of your life, but they can also be some of the most disorienting. They are full of contradictions. You crave freedom, but long for stability. You want adventure, but also security. You are proud of your independence, but secretly wish someone would just tell you what to do. There is no manual for this decade, no checklist that will guarantee happiness. There is only your willingness to keep exploring, to keep asking questions, to keep listening to the quiet voice inside you that knows when something feels true. That voice might get buried under expectations, fears, and obligations, but it is still there. You can trust it. You can trust yourself even if you don't feel ready. If you find yourself stuck in comparison, remember that social media is a carefully edited story. It is not reality. You are seeing curated moments, not the full, unfiltered truth. You don't see the nights people cry themselves to sleep. You don't see the arguments, the doubts, the disappointments. You only see the highlight reel, comparing your behind. The scenes to someone else's polished image is a recipe for despair. Bring your focus back to your own path. What do you want your days to feel like? What values do you want to live by? What would feel meaningful to you, even if nobody else was watching? When you live by those questions, you start to create a life that feels satisfying on the inside, not just impressive on the outside. There will be seasons when you feel like nothing is working, when every door you knock on stays shut, when rejection feels constant. In those moments, it is easy to believe that you are cursed, unlucky, or not good enough. But rejection is part of life. It is not evidence that you have failed. It is evidence that you are trying. Every rejection is a redirection, a chance to find something more aligned. Some of the greatest opportunities will only come after you have been told no many times. Keep showing up. Keep learning. Keep refining your approach. You are not running out of time. You are becoming the person who will be ready to receive what is meant for you. You might feel pressure to have everything figured out by 30, the career, the relationship, the savings account, the sense of purpose. But life doesn't always work on that timeline. Some of the most fulfilled people didn't find their path until much later. Some spent years wandering, experimenting, starting over. They weren't behind. They were collecting experiences that would shape them into wiser, more compassionate humans. If you are still searching, you are in good company. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to change directions. You are allowed to walk away from something that no longer feels right, even if you once thought it was everything you wanted. It takes courage to let go of what is familiar. It takes faith to trust that something better will take its place. But staying in situations that drain you will only dim your spirit. You deserve to build a life that feels expansive, not suffocating. Even if it means disappointing others, even if it means starting over from scratch, you will never regret choosing your own peace and authenticity. If you are struggling to believe in yourself, think about everything you have survived so far. Think about the moments you thought you would break, but somehow you didn't. Think about the strength it took to keep going. You are not weak for feeling lost. You are not fragile for needing time. You are human. And being human is messy and magnificent all at once. There will be moments when you feel glimpses of clarity, when you are doing something that makes you lose track of time, when you are with people who make you feel fully alive, when you feel proud of yourself, not for what you achieved, but simply for showing up with integrity. Pay attention to those moments. They are clues. They are pointing you toward what matters. You don't have to make sense of everything today. You only need to keep noticing, keep reflecting, keep trusting that clarity will grow in its own time. Your 20s are not a test you can fail. They are an unfolding. They are a chance to discover who you are when nobody is scripting your life for you. That process is valuable, even if it doesn't look impressive on the surface, even if it feels ordinary, even if it feels confusing. Ordinary days are where transformation happens, the quiet mornings, the long walks, the hours spent reading or creating or simply being with yourself. These moments matter. They are not wasted time. They are part of your becoming. So take the pressure off. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to measure up to an imaginary standard. You don't have to rush. You have time to build a life that feels right to you. You have time to make mistakes, to try again, to change your mind. You have time to learn how to trust yourself. If you can, find small ways to care for yourself in this season. Eat nourishing food, get enough rest, move your body in ways that feel good. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Spend time in nature. Give yourself permission to do things simply because they bring you joy, not because they are productive. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to exist without justifying your worth. When you feel like giving up, remember that the future is still full of possibilities you haven't even imagined yet. One day, you will look back on this chapter and see how necessary it was. You will see how it prepared you for everything that came next. You will see how being lost taught you to listen to yourself, to trust your own instincts, to define success on your own terms. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are exactly where you are meant to be, in the middle of your own becoming. Keep going. Keep believing that you are worthy of a life that feels true to you. One day, all the pieces will make sense. Until then, trust the process. Trust yourself. You are doing better than you think. Sometimes you will wonder if any of your efforts matter. You will question whether the late nights, the risks you've taken, the choices you made in good faith are ever going to pay off. You will think about all the hours you spent worrying about your purpose and feel like none of it brought you closer to clarity. But progress doesn't always announce itself with certainty. It doesn't always feel like momentum. Often it feels like standing still, like repeating the same small actions over and over again without visible reward. Yet every small act is a brick laid in the foundation of your life. Every day you show up for yourself, even when you're uncertain, is evidence that you haven't given up. You are building something meaningful, even if you can't see the structure yet. You are practicing resilience, learning how to keep faith when there is no immediate validation. That is its own kind of strength. Your 20s will ask you to look honestly at your expectations. You might have believed that by now you'd have a clear trajectory, that you'd feel certain in your identity, that you'd have achieved a list of milestones that made you feel secure. When reality doesn't match those expectations, it can feel like you've failed. But the truth is, nobody's life follows a tidy checklist. If you are living, you are learning. If you are trying, you are growing. This is not a detour. This is your path, and there is no wrong timing for your life to unfold. You might think you need to have all the answers before you start something new. You might wait to feel ready, to feel confident, to feel certain that your efforts will succeed. But readiness is a myth. Confidence is something you earn through action, not something you wait to receive. You can only build courage by stepping into the unknown. You can only develop trust in yourself by taking risks and learning that you can handle whatever happens. If you wait until you feel absolutely sure, you will never move, so take the step. Send the email, make the call, say yes to the opportunity. It doesn't matter if your hands are shaking. It doesn't matter if your voice trembles. The willingness to begin is the most powerful thing you possess. There will be seasons when you outgrow the relationships around you, when you realize that certain friendships are built on who you used to be rather than who you are becoming. Letting go of connections that no longer feel nourishing is one of the hardest parts of growing up. You will grieve the comfort of the familiar, even when you know it's time to move on. But you are not obligated to keep shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that feel too small. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to prioritize relationships that encourage your growth instead of keeping you tethered to the past. Trust that new connections will come. Trust that the right people will meet you where you are. Your 20s are also a time when you will confront parts of yourself you didn't know were there. The insecurities you tried to bury, the patterns you inherited without realizing it, the ways you avoid discomfort or seek approval. This self-awareness can feel uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also liberating. When you can see your patterns clearly, you gain the power to change them. You are not doomed to repeat the same mistakes forever. You are not defined by what you have done before. Every moment is a chance to choose differently, to respond with more compassion, more honesty, more courage. You are never stuck unless you decide to stop trying. It can be tempting to look for someone else to tell you who you should be. A mentor, a partner, a parent, a boss. Someone to hand you a roadmap so you don't have to feel lost anymore. But nobody can tell you exactly how to live your life. They can offer guidance, but ultimately, you must be the one to decide what matters to you. You are the only person who has to live with your choices. You are the only one who will look back on this life and know whether you honored your truth. That is why it is so important to practice listening to yourself, to tune into the quiet knowing that lives beneath the noise of other people's opinions, to trust that your intuition is worth following, even if it doesn't always make sense to others. There will be days when you doubt everything, when you feel like you're not smart enough, talented enough, ambitious enough to create the life you want. In those moments, remember that nobody starts as an expert. Everyone begins as a beginner, unsure of themselves, fumbling through trial and error. Mastery comes with time, with practice, with the willingness to fail forward. You don't need to be exceptional to start. You only need to be willing. The rest will come. If you ever feel like you are too late, that everyone else has already moved ahead while you're still figuring things out, pause and breathe. There is no finish line you must cross by a certain age. Life is not a race. It is a series of seasons, each with its own lessons and gifts. Some seasons are for building, some are for resting, some are for healing, some are for reinventing yourself entirely. You are allowed to take all the time you need. There will be times when you look in the mirror and feel like you don't recognize yourself. When you wonder where the person you used to be has gone. But change is inevitable. You are not meant to stay static. You are meant to evolve, to shed old identities, to discover new facets of who you are. Growth means letting parts of you fall away so something truer can emerge. You are still you, even when you are changing. You are still worthy, even when you feel unsteady. If you ever feel small, remember that you are connected to every person who has ever felt lost and kept going anyway. You are part of a lineage of humans who have braved uncertainty, who have faced setbacks and disappointments and still chosen to try again. You are not alone in your confusion. You are not alone in your longing. Your courage is shared, your struggle is shared, your hope is shared. That connection is stronger than any doubt you carry. One day, you will look back on these years and see that they were not wasted. They were not a time of failure or falling behind. They were the season when you learned to trust yourself, when you gathered the experiences that would one day guide you with clarity, when you proved to yourself that you could keep going even when the path was hidden. You will see that everything you were searching for was not outside you, but already within you, waiting to be discovered. Keep going. Keep trusting that the confusion will give way to clarity. Keep believing that your efforts matter, even when you can't see the results yet. Keep showing up for your life exactly as you are. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be, and your story is far from over. Even when you feel like you're standing in the middle of your life without any idea which direction to walk, you are still moving. The fact that you are asking questions, the fact that you are searching, means you haven't given up on yourself. That is something many people never even attempt. Some people resign themselves to lives that don't fit them because they are too afraid of uncertainty. They accept the story someone else wrote for them and call it safety. But you, in your willingness to feel lost, are honoring your desire for something real, something that belongs only to you. You are honoring your longing for a life that feels honest and alive. That is not weakness. That is an extraordinary kind of strength. You may not see it now, but all this confusion is a sign that you care about your time on this earth. If you didn't care, you wouldn't feel this urgency. You wouldn't be so restless. You wouldn't feel the ache to discover what sets your heart alight. That ache is not a burden. It is evidence that you are awake to your own potential. It is a reminder that you have not settled for less than what feels true. One day, you will look back and realize that feeling lost was not the problem you thought it was. It was the invitation you needed to start listening more deeply to yourself. There are going to be seasons when you doubt whether you have anything unique to offer. You will question whether your dreams matter, whether your ideas are worth pursuing. You will look around and see a world already overflowing with talent, and you'll wonder if there is any space left for you. But there is. Nobody else has your exact combination of experiences, perspectives, and gifts. Nobody else can contribute to the world in the way you can. Even if you can't see it yet, your voice matters. Your presence matters. You belong here simply because you exist. If you ever feel like you don't measure up, remember that you were never meant to be a carbon copy of someone else's expectations. You were never meant to fit into every space or please every person. You were meant to discover what is most authentic to you and to have the courage to build a life around that truth. That is why this season of questioning is so important. It's not about proving your worth. It's about uncovering what you truly value. When you know your values, you can let them guide your decisions instead of chasing validation from people who don't even know your heart. You might worry that you are wasting time when you change your mind, when you start something and then realize it isn't right for you. But changing your mind is not the same as failing. It's a sign that you are paying attention. It's evidence that you are learning. Every experience teaches you something about who you are and what you want. Even the paths that don't lead where you hoped still prepare you in ways you can't yet understand. Nothing is wasted if you choose to learn from it. If you are in a season where nothing feels certain, I invite you to soften your expectations. You don't have to have a 5-year plan. You don't have to have your career trajectory mapped out perfectly. You don't have to be sure of every decision before you take the first step. You only have to keep showing up, keep listening to yourself, keep trying. The clarity you crave will grow slowly, like roots beneath the soil. One day, you will look around and realize you have built a foundation you can stand on. It will not look exactly like you imagined. It will be richer and more real because you allowed yourself to explore. When you feel like you don't belong anywhere, remember that belonging begins inside you. The most powerful sense of home is the one you create within yourself, the acceptance you give yourself when no one is watching, the respect you cultivate for your own process, the kindness you offer to your own mistakes. When you learn how to belong to yourself, you become free. Free to walk away from what doesn't feel right. Free to say yes to opportunities that scare you. Free to trust that you are enough exactly as you are. There will be nights when you wonder whether any of this is worth it, whether you should just settle for what is easy and predictable, whether you should stop hoping for something more. But please, hold on to that hope. Hope is not naive. It is the fuel that will carry you through the hardest days. It is the evidence that you haven't stopped believing in the possibility of your own becoming. You do not have to know exactly where you are going to trust that your journey matters. You only have to keep taking the next step. One of the most important things you can do in your 20s is to learn how to be your own ally, to practice speaking to yourself with the same gentleness you would offer a friend, to remind yourself again and again that you don't have to earn your worth. You don't have to accomplish certain milestones to deserve compassion. You don't have to perform to be loved. You deserve grace simply because you are human. When you make mistakes, and you will be kind to yourself. When you feel behind, remind yourself that time is not running out. When you feel lost, remember that you are still on your way. Even if you can't see the results yet, everything you are doing is moving you forward. Every late night spent working on your craft, every honest conversation, every moment of reflection is planting seeds. Some seeds take longer to sprout than others. Some will grow in unexpected directions. Some will surprise you with their beauty. Trust that in time you will see the harvest of this season, and when you do, you will be glad you didn't give up. If you ever feel like you don't have permission to pursue what you want, I want you to know this. You do not need anyone's permission to create a life you love. You do not need a guarantee that everything will work out. You do not need to wait until you feel fearless. The permission you are waiting for can only come from within. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to try, to fail, to learn, and to try again. And if you ever feel like you are running out of time, remember this. Life does not follow a single timeline. Some people find their purpose early, some much later. Some people build their careers in their 20s, others in their 40s. Some people fall in love young, others discover deep connection later. None of these paths are better or worse. They are simply different. Your life will unfold exactly as it is meant to. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for your own journey. Keep going. Keep trusting that you are worth the effort it takes to build a life that feels true. One day, you will look back at this season with gratitude because it taught you that feeling lost is not the end of the story. It is the place where the real story begins. When you feel like everyone else has found their place while you are still wandering, remind yourself that it only looks that way from the outside. Even people who appear confident and accomplished are often carrying their own private doubts. Even the most polished, put-together lives can feel uncertain behind closed doors. Nobody escapes this part of being human. The truth is, some people are simply better at hiding their uncertainty. But that doesn't mean they are any more certain or any more fulfilled. You are not alone in feeling lost. You are not the exception. You are part of a silent majority who are learning, experimenting, stumbling forward step by imperfect step. And that is nothing to be ashamed of. It is something to be proud of because it means you are still engaged with your life. You are still willing to search. You are still alive to possibility. There will be moments when you think you have finally found your way, only to discover another layer of confusion waiting underneath. You will feel the relief of clarity, the sweetness of certainty, and then watch as it dissolves again. This cycle is part of the process. The goal is not to arrive at some permanent destination where everything makes sense forever. The goal is to learn how to meet yourself with compassion no matter where you are, to keep asking questions even when you don't like the answers, to keep exploring even when you are afraid of what you might find. This is how you build a life that feels authentic, one choice at a time, one question at a time, one brave step at a time. If you ever feel overwhelmed by all the things you think you should be doing, pause. Take a breath. You are allowed to focus on just one thing at a time. You are allowed to slow down. You don't have to fix everything all at once. You don't have to become the most productive, successful, extraordinary version of yourself overnight. It is enough to keep showing up as you are. It is enough to honor what feels most important today. Progress is not always measured in milestones. Sometimes it is measured in the small moments when you choose to be gentle with yourself. Sometimes it is measured in the decision to rest, to say no, to trust that your worth does not depend on your achievements. There will be people who don't understand your choices, people who think you are wasting your potential, who believe you should be further along by now. Let them think what they will. You are not here to convince everyone of your value. You are not here to perform a version of success that doesn't feel true. You are here to build a life that feels right to you, even if it looks unconventional from the outside. You don't need everyone's approval to keep going. You only need your own permission to keep trusting your path. Some days you will feel an ache in your chest you can't quite name, a heaviness that follows you even when everything seems fine. That feeling is not proof that you are broken. It is simply part of being human. You don't have to make it disappear before you are worthy of good things. You don't have to hide it to be loved. The people who are meant for you will not be frightened by your sadness. They will sit beside you in it. They will remind you that you are not alone, and you will learn to offer that same compassion to yourself. If you are struggling to find direction, consider this. You don't have to have a grand vision for your entire life in order to take the next small step. Sometimes the next step is simply doing what is in front of you with as much care as you can. Sometimes it is making one decision that feels a little more honest, a little more alive. You don't have to know exactly where you're going to move forward. You only have to begin. You might be afraid that you will never find something that feels like purpose, that you will drift from job to job, place to place, never feeling fully satisfied. But purpose is not a single destination. It is something you build over time by paying attention to what makes you feel engaged, to what energizes you instead of depleting you. Sometimes it is found in unexpected places, a project that excites you, a cause you care about, a person you help. Keep noticing those small sparks. They are pointing you toward what matters. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to stay curious. One day, you will look back and realize that the things you thought were detours were actually the most important parts of your story. The jobs you left, the relationships you outgrew, the dreams you had to release, they all shaped you. They all taught you something essential. They prepared you to recognize what is real and what is not, what is yours and what you were carrying for someone else. None of it was wasted. All of it mattered. If you are tired, if you are worn out from carrying so much uncertainty, know that it is okay to rest. It is okay to step back for a while. You don't have to hustle your way to clarity. Sometimes the most important insights come when you finally give yourself permission to be still. When you stop striving and allow yourself to breathe, to feel, to simply be. You are not falling behind when you rest. You are gathering the energy you will need for whatever comes next. Keep reminding yourself that life is not a straight line. It is a winding, twisting, surprising path that will lead you to places you can't yet imagine. You are not late, you are not failing, you are in the middle of becoming who you are meant to be, and that process takes time. If nobody has told you lately, I want you to hear this. You are doing better than you think. You are braver than you know. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to be uncertain. You are allowed to be exactly where you are. You are worthy of love and respect, even in your most lost and questioning moments. Keep going, keep listening to your own quiet knowing, keep trusting that one day, this season of confusion will make sense. You will see how every small decision, every moment of doubt, every step you took when you felt afraid was shaping you into someone wiser, stronger, more whole. One day you will look back with gratitude for the courage it took simply to keep moving, and you will know that being lost was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of everything real. There's a moment, quiet and unremarkable on the surface, that often comes to those who have walked through confusion long enough. It doesn't come with thunder or bright signs, it comes like a whisper. You're sitting in your room, walking down a street, maybe washing dishes, and you suddenly realize you're not as lost as you once were. You didn't find a map. You didn't stumble on some secret. You simply kept going, and somewhere along the way, your feet started to remember the rhythm of moving forward. That moment will come for you too, and when it does, you will realize that it was never about having all the answers. It was always about staying in the process long enough to let the answers unfold. You don't need to force your life into clarity. You don't need to rush towards some perfect destination. Some of the most beautiful discoveries come when we stop trying to control every outcome. When we allow life to be messy, when we loosen our grip and let go of needing every step to be right. The truth is, the path reveals itself through walking. You learn more by doing than by waiting. You become more by showing up than by hiding in fear of making the wrong choice. There will be people who try to define success for you. They'll tell you what your timeline should be. They'll compare your choices to theirs. They'll suggest what you should have accomplished by now. But here's something powerful. You don't have to accept their definitions. You don't have to live according to their milestones. You are allowed to define success for yourself. Maybe success for you means waking up and feeling peace in your chest. Maybe it means doing work that aligns with your values. Maybe it means having a few honest friendships, or feeling creative, or having time to care for your mental health. Don't let anyone shame you for choosing a definition of success that honors your soul. Sometimes clarity doesn't come with time alone. It comes with movement. It comes when you take a class on something random, or travel somewhere new, or say yes to a volunteer opportunity that stretches you. Sometimes you discover what lights you up not by thinking harder, but by giving yourself new experiences. Let curiosity lead you. Let playfulness lead you. Let your instincts guide you somewhere different, somewhere unfamiliar. You don't have to find your forever place right now. You just have to find the next thing that brings you back to life. If you've made mistakes, if you've hurt people or yourself in your confusion, I want you to know this. Redemption is real. Growth is real. You are not defined by your worst moments. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to ask for forgiveness and also to forgive yourself. Every one of us has fallen short. Every one of us has learned lessons the hard way. The important thing is that you don't stay stuck in shame. Use what you've learned to become someone who moves through the world with more compassion, more integrity, more intention. Let your pain turn into wisdom. Let your regret become fuel for how you want to live now. You may not be able to control everything that happens in your 20s, but you can control how you show up for yourself. You can speak kindly to the reflection in the mirror. You can ask for help when you need it. You can choose to invest in your healing, to set boundaries, to stop running from the things that scare you. You can take radical responsibility for your own growth, not from a place of blame, but from a place of power. That's what it means to step into adulthood, not having it all together, but owning your journey with courage and self-respect. There will be moments when everything seems still. No big changes, no obvious progress. These quiet seasons can be the most transformative. They teach you how to be patient, how to listen, how to sit with yourself without distraction. These are the times when your roots are growing deeper, even if nothing is blooming on the surface. Trust those seasons. Don't rush them. They are just as essential as the breakthroughs and milestones. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to walk away from people who drain you. You are allowed to stop trying to be who others expect you to be. You do not have to carry everyone else's expectations on your back. You do not have to prove your worth to people who refuse to see your value. Give yourself permission to choose peace over pressure, alignment over approval, healing over hustle. The world will try to tell you that being lost is a problem, that uncertainty is weakness. But let me tell you the truth. The ones who ask hard questions, the ones who sit with discomfort, the ones who take time to truly know themselves, those are the people who end up living the most meaningful lives. Not the most polished lives, not the most celebrated lives, but the most honest lives, the most intentional ones, the ones where joy is deep and real and not performative. Even now, you are further along than you think. You have made decisions that were right for you. You have left things behind that weren't aligned. You have survived heartbreak. You have faced hard choices. You have tried. Don't overlook the quiet resilience it takes to simply keep going. Celebrate that. Respect that. It is no small thing. If you're wondering whether all this questioning will ever end, here's the truth. The questions change, but they never fully go away. That's not a sign of failure. That's a sign that you're still growing, still awake, still evolving. Life is not about arriving at a perfect conclusion. It's about being in relationship with yourself through every season. And the relationship you build with yourself now, in your 20s, is the one that will carry you for the rest of your life. So keep going, keep giving yourself grace, keep showing up even on the days you feel small. Your life matters even now, not just in the future when you have everything figured out, not just when you're finally successful, but now, in your questions, in your trying, in your becoming. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not lost beyond repair, you are becoming, and that is the most courageous thing you can do. And so, as you stand here, somewhere between who you were and who you're still becoming, know this above all else: you are worthy of love, belonging, and respect exactly as you are, even in the middle of all your questions. You don't have to wait for the perfect plan or the perfect version of yourself to finally exhale and trust that you're enough. Right now, in this moment, your life has meaning, your efforts matter. Your story is unfolding in its own time, and it is no less beautiful for being unfinished. Keep going,